We need to make that like 10 seconds longer because by the time I get into the rhythm is when it starts.
Well, I don't know about that. People don't want too long of an intro.
Well, hello, everybody. How are y'all going? How's it going? How y'all doing? Just want to run through here if we can real quick before it gets too busy. It looks like there's not that many people here so far. We'll see how it goes. So hello, Robbie Giglio, Chris Gallagher, Darren Anton, Richard Manny, Jack in the Shop. What's up, Jack? Richard Manny, Dale Dubs, Don Lewis, Keith Boardley, ETLC, Jonathan, Mr. Jeff Benedict, Tim Arthur, Nipa, how are you? Sharon Simpson, hello, Miss Sharon, how are you there? Gail McGinnis, Mike, Multicraft Neo, see Billy Powell, James Richards, hello from Ozark, Alabama. What's up, neighbor? How are you? Roger Court, Mike, Brad Ham, hello, Mark L, Larry Broom, hello from Chattanooga up there. Jeremy Jordan, Double J Patriotic Designs. How are you, sir? Let's see. Peter Lapine, Mark Patterson. Patterson. Burncarf Print, Lakeside Customs, David Pingle. Uh-oh, the numbers just went way up, didn't it? Michelle Youngblood, Dixie May, how are you? Thanks for joining. First time from Indiana. Glad to have you there. Let's see who else we got. Woodworker Jeans, laser engraving and 3D printing. Chris Gallagher, Brian Smith, Lori C. from Indies, North Dakota, right? Yeah. Mark L. Dennis Canals. Okay, Bob Decker. I think I'm running through them again. Aldrich Customs, Tom Schmidt. I'm messing that up. What's up, Tom? Merrill Carl Asbury, Chuck Peterson, Harry Hodge, Jason at S&J Custom Lasers, Mr. Norbert Davis, how are you, sir? Steve B, Robert Lowe, Chris Anderson, Jason Cunningham, Darren C, Shay Marie Arnoldville. Boy, I'm messing some names up tonight. Y'all don't be mad at me. Steve Wright, John Thompson, Binary Mirror. That can't be a real name. Springfield Ranch, David Allen 69. That's a good name, David Allen.
And he's on Twitch.
Yeah, and on Twitch too. Hey. Tim Luffman, John Elliott. My gosh, the number's getting bigger, isn't it? Brian, what's up, Mr. Brian Smith? My noises ain't working, I don't think. If they are, I can't hear them.
No, I'm not hearing anything other than you. Greet the ever-growing list of people.
Yes, it's getting out of hand. Dennis Rodenbush, Perman Finlayson, Gregory Awal. Are we yet? I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I can't pronounce. You know, I speak redneckanese anyway. So anyway, there we go. So I'm caught up. We're gonna call it there before any more other people join. We do have some questions. I saw. There it is, Dixie May. Oh, don't worry, Brian. I'm trying to get your graphics or your audio sounds back up. I don't know why they're down, but I'm trying to reboot that here in the background. So Dixie May has a question. It says, anyone use Inkscape to make laser maps? I don't use it for a lot other than just file conversions. How about you, Steve?
Yeah. No, having access to Illustrator, which is kind of the equivalent. I use Inkscape to kind of just test some things, but I don't do a lot with it. But I have played around with, some of the, there's some tools out there to export, like from Google Maps. You can get a high contrast Google Maps and then export, and then you can drop that into like Inkscape or Illustrator. So similar, but yeah, it's a great tool for editing vector graphics. So as long as you can bring them in that way, you can create layers and do a lot of modification with it there. But can't say I've done a whole lot more than just kind of test some conversions and other things in it.
Yeah, all I've really used Inkscape for is just, like I said, if I've got a SVG that's not working, or somebody reaches out to me about a file that they can't get to open because, before I started selling my files, I didn't know there was actually there's two different types of SVGs that are on the market that are commonly used. And so I've had to take a few of my files and modify them to work with some of the other machines on the market that I wasn't catering to start with. Let's see if it works now. No, it's not working still, Steve.
That's too bad.
It's very, very unfortunate so far.
Yeah, Dixie, if you've got an older version of Creative Suite, you can do a lot of the basic manipulation with that. And the subscription based software, it's unfortunate that more places are going that way. It's nice when they at least give you an option, pay a large sum of money to have a perpetual license on locked in one. But I'm fortunate in that I have access to it through the college that I work at. So I can do a lot with that. And then of course I pay for some of the features I use in my business just to be on the up and up in that. But some of the ones that I just do more for experimentation or kind of teaching people, I'll go ahead and use the other ones. So.
Well, I can't believe my numbers or my voices ain't working. Let's see here. Bill's got a question about a machine, and Bill, y'all know this is always one of those, it depends, but Bill says he has an Atomstack 5 Pro, just purchased a Ray Laser 1390 CO2. Not familiar with that machine. If you were to purchase another laser, what would it be? I'm not familiar with the Ray Laser. Are you?
Not offhand, but I guess the way I'd look at it is what's pushing the purchase. Is it trying to keep up with the production as things I'm currently doing, or wanting to expand into maybe some new mediums and different things? So, if you're trying to get more production out of what you're currently doing, I would definitely probably jump into another CO2 or maybe a larger, more powerful diode that can help you double up on things. He meant an RM laser 1390.
Oh, okay.
If you're looking to, expand into things, then, definitely probably looking at a galvo fiber laser, or possibly if you're looking at wanting to be more portable with your work and be able to do things on site, then looking at some of the the more enclosed, maybe dual lasers like the F1, possibly the F1 Ultra. We've talked about the pros and cons about that one and its portability. The Laser Pecker 5 would be in there, but there's a lot more. Seems like a lot of companies are coming out with their kind of portable, like there's the iCube from Sculpt Fun, and I know Algo Lasers coming out with their similar box thing like that. So depending on where you're wanting to put your efforts, that's where it's going to drive for me. But if you're looking at from what you have, if you're just looking at, I want something new to play with, then I think getting into like a fiber style, and a galvo would be kind of the next addition in your lineup.
Agreed.
And he said, I'm wanting to expand so I can get more projects out the door. Well, there again, I mean, it can be more quantity or different styles. So, based on what you have, if you're wanting to be able to offer more, I would probably start looking at something that's more dedicated to metals in the fiber realm. Greg, yeah, I'm slowly getting better. My energy has been really low. And actually today's the first day I've gotten out into either of my shops to really do anything. I was down in my basement shop playing around with the comm marker. My wife kind of gave me an idea and a project, and she does a lot of like knitting and needed some of these little tins. So we found these stainless steel tins on Amazon, and I went ahead and dialed in some settings to be able to engrave these without any marking spray, getting a pretty good contrast on them for a variety of things. So was able to get that done. Kind of felt good to be a little productive. I did kind of record most of it so I could get a video out, because it's been, since I left for CES, I really haven't gotten much out.
You're going to kind of AFK for a little while.
Yeah, well, and you may be still here. I'm still dealing with some congestion and whatnot, but starting to feel like I have enough energy to not just come home and fall asleep in the recliner all evening. So thanks for asking, and I'm hoping to get kicking back into my usual routine. I have apparently it's been my goal this month to do as little at work as possible. So between holidays and taking the almost 2 weeks of vacation time to go to CES and see my dad, and telework days, I'm spending a total of 5 days on campus this month, and only about 12 days actually on the clock. So yeah, it's been a weird month. January is also, people talk about seasonal affectiveness disorder, especially up here, and where it's normally cold and snowy. It actually hasn't been that cold and snowy. But I kind of get a little bit of that in January as well. So, but yeah, planning on getting this video out. I've got another one I got to edit of being at Cody's shop, making some CNC bits. Got some other projects I want to work on. And this Wednesday, it's my lap around the sun day. So I'm taking it off from work. Hopefully can get some stuff done. And I'm thinking I might try to do a pop-up live stream. Maybe hang out in the shop and see what's going on this Wednesday afternoon, evening. So we'll yeah, I gotta get kicked back into gear on some of these things. So,
well, I got good news for you.
No, what's that?
Never fear, Brian. I got it fixed.
Well, I'm glad I talked enough for you to fix that.
Well, come to find out, all it was my Stream Deck. The software had apparently rebooted and installed an update, and the Stream Deck had to be restarted. So hey, we're good. But yeah, I got it working in case I need it.
ET's asking, do either of us have a materials list for the Atomstack 40 to get them a starting point?
I don't know how much of a materials list I got. I know my settings, so a lot of times I don't put them in there unless it's something off the wall. Let me see. I got a few things in here. No, that's the Hurricane. Never mind. Hang on.
Yeah, I know. I don't have anything offhand outside of my test cards from my initial review. That's been the one that it still doesn't have an enclosure, and so it doesn't get as active of use. So I don't necessarily build up a library until it's kind of in more of a permanent.
Yeah, I got a couple of plywoods and some black tumblers. So okay. I mean, that's really all I got in that. Just I would just say test and test some more. 8 millimeters a second at 100% power should cut most 1/4 inch material. If you get into some stubborn stuff like some of this stuff I've been playing with lately, you may have to drop it down to 6. Of course, some of that may be because my machine's probably needing a lens change at this point because I haven't changed it in a while. But yeah, 6 to 8 millimeters a second, it should cut 1/4 inch birch pretty consistently as long as you have a lot of glue spots in it.
Excuse me.
Let me make sure I haven't missed anything. STL Woodworks. Well, Greg, you might actually get to meet Steve if he gets recovered by the time we go to Georgia. If he doesn't, I'm going to see if I can't sell his ticket for a cheaper price and take somebody else with me.
No, I plan on being down there. My I've been looking at airplane tickets and weighing that against just driving. Obviously, flying
Ooh.
down would be the fast route, but it's looking like I practically have to, some of the options were have a layover in Phoenix and like leave at 6 in the morning, have a layover in Phoenix, and then get there at like 7 at night, or spend like $600-700.
You're trying to go to Atlanta or Birmingham?
Well, either. I mean, I'm looking at, because like Delta bought out Northwest Airlines. Northwest Airlines is based up here, so they got a pretty big hub up here, and of course in Atlanta is their main hub. So you'd think Delta, I'd have a lot of options. Problem is, they nickel and dime you on everything, and they want you to pay for everything. So
yeah,
I'm just debating, and especially if I still feel like this, I don't want to go in a pressurized cabin and make this congestion worse. So barring yes being deathly ill, I plan to be there. I'm just I'm pro and conning the taking the extra 2 days to have to drive versus fly down there and not take as much time. So but yeah. Plan to be there. Looking forward to it mostly. Well,
hopefully it'll work out. Because like I said, last year you were planning on coming, and then some stuff came up, and so if it happens this year, I'm just going to give up on you. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to decide that you don't want to come to Workbenchcon.
Well, I want to go at least once. We'll put it that way. And I kind of feel like in talking to some of my other creator friends and such, they're like, yeah, it's fun, it's good, but everybody kind of balks at the price as whether it's worth going year after year after year, right?
It is expensive.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that I'm like, there's enough people that I know that are going that I want to hang out with them. B, yeah, it's kind of one of those things you at least want to experience something once. So yeah, I've already everything, like I said, I got my ticket all lined up. I just need to sort out travel plans, and I should be there.
Yeah, Mark said you were thrilled that I got the sales fixed. Yeah, but no, it's a lot of people have been asking me about it, and I will say this: it is an expensive. It's an expensive like show to go to, I guess you could say. The thing about this one is a lot of folks are asking me how much is it to get in the show and all that. The thing is this is kind of geared towards content creation. So if you're not into content creation, then you're probably not going to enjoy, say, the classes and stuff like that they have. Some of the classes are really geared towards somebody that's like brand new, trying to start a YouTube channel, that kind of thing. Other classes are going to be related to the sponsors, whether it be epoxy classes or CNC or, Vectric does a class and that kind of thing. So to me, if you're not going to try to move your channel forward, then it's probably not the best event for you to go to. If you're just into woodworking, there's other venues that are probably better for just woodworking or just lasers or just CNC. This one's geared towards more the content creator that's in the maker space, mostly woodworking. But they don't really, so far, they haven't shunned at us CNC laser 3D printing folks. There are some of the purists running around there that are like, oh, they use a CNC, huh?
But some of their bigger sponsors now are, they've got Vectric there. Onefinity,
Carbco.
Yeah. So I think you're right. This is very much a content creator workshop than it is just general maker woodworking and such. So actually, I mean, if you want to go to a woodworking show in that area down in the Southeast, IWF International Woodworking Fair is in August, and I'm pretty sure just to get in onto the show floor is pretty inexpensive.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Last time I was over there, it's like to walk around the in the hallway in front of the event. There wasn't any like barriers or metal detectors or big dudes standing there saying don't enter. It may be different this go around, but last year it was more of an open exhibition area, and then the classrooms and stuff like that you would go into, or the event, they had people at the door of those checking passes. So
Sure.
If you're in the area and you just want to swing by and like walk around and see what's in the main hall, you can probably get away with that if it's like it was last year. But trying to go into any of the little sub areas is where you're gonna get like stopped if you don't have a placard on. So STL Greg said he's gonna be there. Room is booked. I'm gonna expect him to at least say hi while he's over there, because I'm sure we'll be sitting down there and like we were last year, talking shop half the night. But yeah, I finally made the room appointments the other night, and Steve, you'll be happy to know I got us a king size bed.
Okay.
No, actually, I didn't. I got 2 queens. I'm just playing.
Wow. It's got to be better than the honeymoon suite you got us in Vegas, because that's probably why I got sick, was sleeping in that great dang heart-shaped jacuzzi tub.
Yeah, the heart-shaped tub. Yeah, I know it was bad, but whatever. Yeah, I've got a couple of Klein had mentioned wanting to go over there, and I told him, I said, well, you can go. I said, but I don't know which one of us you're gonna want to snuggle with, because I've only got 2 beds in the room. And there may or may not be room for a blowout, what you call it, an air mattress. But yeah.
Well, there's a question for you from Brent, wondering what your general price for vanity plates. He's currently charging $25 local and $35 shipped.
I think that's depending on the blank that you get, because some of the blanks are more expensive than others. They're the really thin ones, and then you got the thicker ones. I think if you're doing the thicker ones, I think this, especially if it's custom for, say, a business or a company or something like that, 35 is not a big jump for something like that. And reason being, if it's for a business, then that's marketing, it's advertisement, it's a deduction for them, as long as you can create them an invoice and not have to cash only it or whatever. But I think with the ones that I do, 25 to 35 would be, either way would be fair. But I think especially if it's like a construction company that wants one for all of their vehicles, of course, then I would probably cut them some slack if I'm doing like repeat the same design, as opposed to, if you had somebody wanting 10 of them, but they all 10 said something different, then, it's kind of hard to discount that based on bulk orders, because there is that extra step of fixing it. STF says, if you drive, I'll give you a tour of my shop. I'm gonna be driving over. I'm not flying from where I'm at. It takes me like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and I'm there. So yeah, I'll be driving to Atlanta.
It depends on, so the time and the distance to drive to Atlanta is about the same as the time and distance to drive to Clack's place. So if I drive, part of my decision making will be like, well, do I want to just head to his place? We can carpool, one less vehicle to worry about over there. But then it's a little extra travel time for me, but I get chauffeured by Clack.
Get to ride in the old 150.
And plus it gives us the option that maybe I extend a day or so and we can do a live on site at his shop and maybe do something. But I got to look at the calendar and look at everything. So I might not actually be coming down through that area. I might be going down to Alabama instead, and then heading over with him.
Yeah.
All things I'll have to decide in the next week or two, I guess, especially if I'm going to fly.
You're running out of time to decide.
Yeah. If the flying was fine up until I got sick and had to fly home with some congestion, that's no fun.
Yeah.
And the fact that this has taken a while to kick it, I don't know. As a guy who likes his airplanes and aviation, commercial flights kind of like the if I absolutely have to kind of thing.
All right. I think somebody's asking about my enclosure. I'm trying to find the comment, but
yeah, someone asked if you have, I think it was this one, are the plans for Enclosure Zilla available online?
I got some rough drawings, to give you a general idea, but they're on my website. If you go to my website and go to Enclosures something, I forgot how I got it listed. But if you'll go to hang on. Let me just pull it up. That way I can make sure how
designs. clackshack.com/designs.
Yes, that's what
I will warn you, the site is shady. They do use cookies, and you may have to accept that. And I always recommend people not to. So,
well, that's just a little cookie to help you remember your preferences and stuff. But yeah, there it is right there. This is the small one, and then that's the wait a minute, that's the Enclosure Zilla, and that's the small one. So yeah, they're on there if you're interested. Like I said, I don't. Those are just download them from Google Drive and use them. They're just rough sketches, nothing big, nothing too complex.
Norbert's asking, who do I want to see or talk to at IWF 2025? I don't know that I would go to that. It's the wrong time of year, and it is, as STL kind of mentioned in the comments too. It is really geared at primarily larger woodworking manufacturing, but it's really cheap to get in, and they do have other vendors there that some of my content creation friends, they've made connections with there as well. But it's, if you want to kind of go to a show that has a lot of technology around, woodworking and such, that is one that's inexpensive to go to. But yeah, unfortunately for me, that mid to late August timeframe is just horrible. It's semester is kicking up for us. Fall semester is always difficult with more new students and more adjunct faculty and such coming back. So it's hard for me to get away from that one.
Manny and Letitia saying that I have an X-Tool S140 watt. I'm having issues with the right settings for lasering on Stanley 40 ounce. Still getting darkness on parts, but if I lessen the power, it does not fully go through. If you're not cleaning it with rubbing alcohol and like a magic eraser or either some LA Awesome and microfiber cloth or something like that, you may be going through and you just don't know it. There is a tight balance between getting the stainless steel hot enough to where it starts turning gray or not getting it hot enough to where the coating doesn't come off. And the only way that you're going to figure that out is to test. And that's why Stanleys are a booger, because that's an expensive test. So if you're not selling 100 of them, it's hard to absorb the cost of testing on a Stanley, unless you do like I do, and you're just like, if I mess it up, I'm just going to drink out of it anyway, which is what I do. So my mess up cups, I still use them. They're still functional. This is actually one of the very first ones I ever did, and I did not make it all the way through it. This is before I even called it the Clack Shack. And it didn't make it all the way through the coating, but you know what? It drinks just as good. But that was a long time ago. But yeah, testing is going to be your thing. Hey, quit scratching the wall.
And like you said, if you're looking for a clean engrave straight off the laser and chuck, you're probably going to overdo it. That finding those settings with the post cleanup is a bit of the process you got to go through. It looked like they also followed up that they're ivory color, 75% power, 300 speed, and 200 lines per inch. Ivory is going to be a little tricky with that blue diode. It's going to want to reflect a lot of that light. Also, I'm not sure if there's any sort of taper that you're not able to kind of level out. That's going to, depending on your design, that's going to add some complexity to getting a hot spot and a cold spot. So, because those Stanleys generally have that kind of step down in them, right? It's like wider at the top and narrow at the bottom.
They look a lot like the, I don't know if I got one out here. They look a lot like these mammoths that I do. I don't have one where I can reach it without a ladder. But yeah, they have they come down right below the handle and then they taper in to about the size of a 20 ounce below the handle.
Yeah. So if you're trying to do both top and bottom in that, it's going to be tricky to.
Yeah, I would recommend not trying to do the top and the bottom at the same time. unless you can get yours like lean, unless you can get it leaned up just right. But yeah, it's gonna. If you're using my little ruler trick on the S1 or some type of a 3 to 4 millimeter offset to raise the focus, and you're running the LPI at 200, it's just a matter of getting that speed and power right. With the white colors, you are, like I said, white, light blue, white and light blue, like any of the pinks, but the real light colors are going to be tough. Red, black, even the dark blue, like the navy, works better than the light blue and the white. So, I mean, you're going to have to bump up the power a little bit with those colors with the blue diode. Now, if you're using a CO2, it's a whole different game. You pretty much figure out your settings and your goal. That's why I would like to have a CO2 setup to do my tumblers with, because it's just so much easier, less chance of messing up the and going too hot.
Well, and then also, I don't know if they got this trick from you. Sounds like they were talking with you on Instagram and such, but the defocusing, not having it.
Yeah, I told him. I sent him the video that I did on the mammoths, and she said he or she says they've tried the offset the focus. Okay, that's not working. So
yeah,
it's if it's not getting all of the coating off, you're not going fast enough. But I'm a little worried that maybe you are cutting them exactly right, but you can't tell it because you're not cleaning it properly. So because the pictures that they sent, it was grade, like and it had the scratches in the stainless, all the signs of too hot.
So both Mark and Dwayne have a good point for me to drive. Is I could restock the shop with hidden treasures.
Yeah, I've got me some bigger stickers coming too. So I'll have to put them on that minivan.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I don't know. I'm leaning towards driving. It's just the time as well. So
that's a lot of driving.
Well, it is, but if you had given me the option to drive home from Arizona rather than hop on an airplane, I probably would have, just to save myself the pressurization and the probably the extra congestion I've had. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we have for some questions on.
Greg, he's out there somewhere. He sleeps all day, so you don't see him until at night. He barks all night and sleeps all day, and he eats packages. We've got to break him from that, because I can't have him chewing up packages.
Yeah,
he got a hold to a box the other day, and I'm hoping he could tell by my voice and the way that I looked at him before he ran away that wasn't a good idea. But yeah, I was worried that he had damaged the machine, but luckily he just grabbed those cheap little glasses out of there and had fun with them. So,
yep. Pioneer Mirrors, what's the show you're talking about in Atlanta? Well, the one that we're going to is Workbenchcon. That's coming up at the end of February. I don't remember. It's been going for about 7 or 8 years now, I think. And it's big around content creators in the makerspace. So while they do have kind of classes on certain like making techniques, they also have a lot of like how to work with sponsored content gigs, and how to
how to balance
video editing things, how to balance it as your primary and your secondary gig kind of thing, stuff like that. So that's the one that we're going to here just next month, but there are others. The other one I mentioned was IWF. That's a big manufacturing woodworking show that's in August, and so I know some of my friends have gone to it to meet up with places and such, but there's a lot of others out there too. There's some laser specific conferences, one that's a little more around running a laser based business, and I think they're going to be in Oklahoma this year, or maybe Texas. Maybe they were in Oklahoma last year and they're in Texas this year. So there's things like that. Lightburn, they're doing their thing again but it's in New York City, and I think it's this fall, or is it maybe next year? So there are some that are geared more around our vein of CNCs and lasers, but
Yeah, somebody was saying I might need to get a bin for the packages. I actually have one, but if it's a laser, it won't fit inside there. And the other day I was home. I was pulling up the driveway parking from work when the DHL guy pulled in. And so I grabbed the packages from him and set them at the back porch. Because it was the longer, and then I had another box that had the air assist, another box had the honeycomb. And so I just propped him up against the side of the porch while I went inside and changed clothes before I come out here to the shop. And from the time I sit it there, changed clothes, and came back outside, he had chewed a hole in the box. So yeah, hopefully it won't happen. But there's a lot of times that these delivery drivers, even though I have that package drop-off box, they don't put them up there. And he does not need a Chewy subscription because right now he has almost erected an entire cow in the front yard. He has cow bones like everywhere. Like I mean, they're this long and that big around, cow bones all in the yard. It looks like he's building a dinosaur. Matter of fact, let me find that picture. I think I put it on my Facebook page.
And Tim Arthur thinks he said Lightburn Conference is in July this year, July 19th and 20th, and it's in New York City. I just want to there again, timing was bad. It was within about a 7-hour drive for me last year, and kind of wish I could have gone to it. Had some mixed reviews on people, I guess, depending on what they thought they were going to get out of it. But it's always nice to be able to meet up with other people, whether it's from a business standpoint, content creation standpoint, or some of the businesses that we work with. So
I got to meet Cody. I got to meet Greg, Outlaw from 731 Woodworks, a bunch of other channels. And like I said, it's because doing what we do, especially with the YouTube and stuff like that, there's not a whole lot of people here in my area that I can sit around and just talk shop with. Now, CNCs, lasers, whew, I'm getting a few more of those because they keep springing up around me. but yeah, it is very much geared towards content creation and you know they try to teach you how to like work with companies or whatnot. And some of the speakers last year, matter of fact, your buddy Chris from A Glimpse Inside was one of the speakers at the event, stuff like that. It's pretty cool hearing their stories and so forth. And if you are to the point where you have a business around this, then of course that's basically continued education, training, whatever you want to call it. And there again, it can be deducted from your taxes. So if you're not in the business of making videos, like I said, it's a big bite to have to chew for just going over there to see that. Because like you said, if you want to just come meet us, let us know when you're going to be in town and we'll like go out and get some wings or something. Don't pay that. Don't buy that ticket just to come hang out with me and Steve for an hour or two. Yeah. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And once in 249 days, Clack's going to be doing much more of the
48,
the meetup bit, you know,
48.
So, well, now, I'm giving you a date, you know, that's, you know, you got to have at least one day.
Now, like this will be at the Vectric booth over there. Becky from Vectric, I met them last year. She emailed me and was like, "Hey, since you're driving, could you like bring some things that were made with Vectric software so we don't have to try to smuggle them onto a plane and fly them in from the UK?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I've got this, and then y'all saw the my little puzzles, which I'm waiting on the poly to dry on them now.
Yeah, Ryan, it'd be great if you could come, but you know, understand your business and those shows come first.
Yeah, but like these are my little puzzles, which I've got them taped up right now because I'm having to go back. I decided that I wanted to round the edges and round the corners and all that to them. So I've got them taped up so that I don't get clear coat on the acrylic. So I'm fixing to. I've sprayed the back with polyacrylic. I engraved them with the F1 Ultra, and so now I'm going to just spray the edges and then peel this off, and I'll be good to go. And
I think you should have made it two-sided.
Two-sided where you can see through it?
Yeah, so it's like a maze on one side and you flip it over, it's a maze on the other side.
It would have to be really thin because all I had to use was BBs. That's all I had in the shop. I found some BBs, and I'm like, you know what? Those will work. It was either that or I was going to have to take one of my empty paint cans and take the take the marble out of it because that's all I had in the shop.
Yeah. Gail's asking, new laser owner, what is the best first project to work on? Well, the first thing you really need to do is kind of learn the laser settings. And so running material tests both on cutting and engraving is where you want to spend some time to really kind of figure out for your material and your laser what it's going to work. But after you've done that, I recommend people start out with some simple things like keychains because you're going to combine, playing around with text, maybe playing around with graphics, as well as cutting them out. And it's something that you can start, giving away to people, businesses and things to kind of help, as you're learning the laser, you'll get a few of those that are probably worth giving out. And then they can be, you can repurpose that learning material as samples. So, but yeah, from there, it's kind of going to depend on what your, what you're wanting to do with it. If you're wanting to start building 3-dimensional items and boxes, then you're going to want to start playing around with kerf and, dialing in again, the fit for your material and such. So it's, after you get your basic cut in engrave settings, play around with a little bit of like maybe giveaways just to really dial it in. From there, kind of, it's going to depend on the projects you want to work with.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you're brand new to lasering and you just got your laser, if you have friends and family, you're going to get some projects and you're going to mess some stuff up. It's going to happen because when your friends and family find out you have a laser, they're going to automatically assume you are a professional with this laser. They're going to ask you to do some of the oddballest things you've ever heard of. And you're going to have to weed through those before you can ever hope to make money with it. Because friends and family will keep you busy for the first couple of months once they figure out that you can do it. It took me a while. I still get friends and family requests, and I usually just do them because it's like whatever. I'm like, as long as I can make content with it, I'll do them nowadays. But yeah, you'll learn because you're gonna get in there having fun. And then you can always like snag your buddy's logo and burn it for a piece of wood or something like that.
Excuse me.
But it's very enjoyable.
Yeah. So Mark's asking, how repeatable is the homing function for CNCs like Onefinity and Shapeoko? If set up right, it should be very repeatable.
Mine's dead on.
But that being said, there are on any of them, there can be things that can mess them up, so if they have traditional limit switches, those can wear out over time, or the little lever on them versus the button can get bent, which can cause some issues. On the Onefinity, actually doesn't use limit switches, but it uses the kind of the voltage spike from the motors when they hit the end stops. And depending on how well you do your maintenance, or I've seen it in my shop mostly with temperature changes, it can actually, it gets a voltage spike, it starts getting close, and just because the temperature changes, metal is expanded, contracted a little bit, it'll do a false positive, but usually then I just reset and tell it, hey, rehome, and it hits it. So they are fairly accurate, but you still need to kind of monitor and watch, verify that everything looks normal.
Yeah.
Now, on some machines, I've seen it where, things just get too loose. It'll home the next time it homes. I mean, we've seen this on lasers too. There's just a little bit of a bounce back, or there may be too much tension or not enough tension. They start homing in weird spots. So that's another thing to look at. But brand new out of the box, set up properly, they should run pretty well, and that should be your baseline for noticing if things are off.
Well, and one thing too, like I said, I don't have a Onefinity, but I'm sure they work exactly the same. The Shapeoko, basically, when you power it up and you connect it to the software that runs it, you have to initialize the machine, which basically homes the machine. Is what it does. Is it'll raise itself up and it'll do bounce offs with the Z axis, and it'll go all the way to the back right corner. And that is its, I guess you would say, home location. But with CNCs, you have a home, like a machine home, and then you have like your work home. You technically have two different home locations. So once you put your material up there, you'll jog the machine out and get it lined up with the corner or the center or however you index your project. You'll have that set up with the CNC, and then you'll reset your 0 to 000 for your X, Y, and Z axis. Now that is your working home. It's not the machine home, but it's the working home. So like with those little puzzles that I made, every time I had to do a bit change, the X and Y 0 never changed, but the Z I have to reset with every bit, because if you don't, then unless you put that bit in exactly the same depth as the one before it, it's going to cause discrepancies. So even though I don't change the X and the Y, I still have to 0 the Z. So it's a little different than lasers, because with the CNC, the bit does change. It's not. It'd be kind of like if you were taking your laser and changing the lens and changing the focal length of the laser. It's kind of the same thing. You have to account for that between passes.
So just so we have the technical terms right, home is going to be your machine's kind of home of where its extents are. Origin is going to be where you're going to set that 000 point. So if you're looking at some documentation, you want to make sure you understand the difference between home and origin on those. And some lasers do also, especially like the Ruida DSP controllers, will allow you to also set an origin outside of the machine home as well. But yeah, it's it is an extra. It's an extra thing to worry about and think about when setting these up, because you also have to think about that in your CAM software when you're setting up your file, because you're telling it the origin is either in the center of my project or the corner of the project.
One of the four corners.
And the origin for the Z is either on the top of the material or on the base of the CNC. So there's all that stuff you kind of got to keep in mind as you're setting up your files, so that when you do set your origin position or you home your machine and use absolute coordinates off that, it knows where it's really supposed to go.
Yeah. Then there are CNCs that are kind of like some of the lasers too, that where you don't technically home the machine. It's operating from current position all the time.
Right.
Which is where you would just simply set the origin and rock with it from there. And the software leaves it up to you to determine whether or not it has room to actually execute that file.
Yeah. And not all CNCs will home to their machine origin or their machine home on boot up. The Onefinity with Buildbotics like mine, it gives you the option to. And if you don't, then it doesn't necessarily know, like it's programmed to know it's a certain size, and it uses that as soft safety limits. If you don't do that, you can have it crash because it thinks it can go further than it mechanically can. Now the Elite one with the Masso controller, you've got it's part of its boot up process. It's just going to home. So
yeah.
Similar with lasers, Lightburn will allow you to turn that on or off. I usually keep it off, but then manually home them myself. So,
yeah, there's no option for that with the Shapoco. When you initialize the machine to connect it to the software, it's gonna go find its home, and then it's gonna you're gonna have to walk it back out to set the origin for the job.
Mm-hmm. Travelers Diecast Customs asking, how quickly after getting my laser should I become an LLC, set up EIN, etc., become legit? I was hoping to get a small customer base built before paying taxes. Well, I would recommend you do it as soon as you think you're going to start legitimately doing it. The thing is, you're going to have to pay taxes no matter what. And depending on how you're selling items, if you go to certain venues, they're going to either ask for your state sales tax number ID, or they're going to have you sign up for kind of a temporary crafting one, and they are going to whether they report that to your state revenue system or not, you're going to have to deal with it one way or another. So the benefits of it and the protections of it, the minute you start actually selling things, are worth it, as well as your income tax benefits. It's It's actually easier to make deductions. You can actually have an operating loss your first year or two if need be, versus if you're just doing it as a hobby, you can only write off up to the amount of your actual income. So most states make it fairly simple to do your LLC, and the federal makes it pretty easy to do the EIN. Really, it's, one way or another, you got to be keeping track of your books. That's probably harder than dealing with this actually incorporating it as a business. So I would look into it. I would maybe talk to an accountant or a small business person that you can. But I would recommend doing it sooner than later. If you're actually to the point of wanting to sell products.
Yeah, and if I don't know where everybody is, but wherever you are, you may want to ask around with some of the small businesses, like the Chamber of Commerce. Some of there are some free nonprofit organizations and stuff like that specialize in helping people with small businesses and trying to get you started. And if nothing else, they'll have good information and be able to direct you to where you need to go to do it. If you don't want to pay for an attorney or anybody to do it for you. The simplest way, of course, is just to hire an attorney and let them do it. But, attorneys don't work for free.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of organizations that are nonprofits, and that's what they exist for.
Yeah. And definitely check with either, like you say, local, but like I know here in the state of Minnesota, the Secretary of State takes care of all that. And they have it very smooth and simple. There's really no reason. If you're just doing a sole proprietor LLC, it is super simple to set that up. You really don't need to hire a lawyer. Now, if you're going to have, a multi, what is that? Like an S Corp LLC, where you have like multiple owners and such and division of things, then you're probably, there's other reasons you probably need a lawyer besides that. But definitely reach out to some of those places. Check your state and city for their resources before you jump right away to talk with a lawyer. But because there's not only the sales tax, but the income tax, and there can definitely be some benefits to getting it done on the front end than waiting. But as Ryan said, make sure you like you're really confident that you want to do this as a business. You can definitely do it as kind of a craft thing, and if you're doing maybe 1 or 2 shows a year, just kind of as a hobby income, you can still get by as kind of just doing it on your own tax as a hobby income. But once you really kind of make that leap that it is truly your side gig, that you're actively involved with it week after week, yeah, I would be definitely having those conversations and looking into it.
Yeah, when it got me was when I was having to order hundreds of dollars worth of materials or hundreds of dollars worth of blanks. Because if you're not a business, it's hard to expense out money that you spent.
Well, and even
so that's where it just made so much sense for me. I'm like, all right, I'm fixing to start this as a business, and I'm getting QuickBooks so that it can kind of keep up with everything, and life got better after that, because there's only so much you can do with a spreadsheet.
Well, there's a lot you can do with a spreadsheet, but it gets to be a headache. The other thing too is working with some businesses. So like when I was doing my foam flight gig, I was able to get dealer rates on Baltic birch plywood. As a matter of fact, the place that I recommend local people go to and pick it up from, they'd sometimes have to offload their order to get to mine, because I was ordering more. I was processing through more of that plywood. And so I was getting their price or less, like a dealer rate on that. I wasn't paying retail. So if you're going to be doing a lot of, using a lot of blanks, a lot of supplies, there are places that will say, okay, well, we need your tax ID and all this other stuff, business license, things like that, to even get them to send you their price lists.
Yeah, one of the other benefits of actually legitimizing too is, say, like if you go and you buy blanks and you set up an account with a company or whatever, and you're buying blanks and you're reselling those blanks in Alabama, if I'm buying items to customize and then resell, I'm actually not required to pay sales tax on those items.
Right.
I can buy them at wholesale tax free as long as I'm taxing it on the back end once it leaves my shop.
Or charging yourself sales tax when you use it yourself, and not, it gets to be a real weird area.
That is, I should say, I don't do that. I can, but I don't, because it just, that's one more thing I've got to keep up with. And that's
it's
one more reason for somebody to come up here and go, hey, let me look at your books.
It's the technicality of it is that you can buy it tax free, assuming you're reselling it. But when you use it as supplies, like if you were to buy a bunch of plywood and you use half of it to build shop furniture for your shop, and then you should be now charging yourself the sales tax on that stuff. So it's a weird gray area, but there's definitely some ways to
because when I go to like my local hardware store, they're like, you don't have to pay tax on this. I'm like, yes, I do, because some of it I don't necessarily sell. I use it for testing for the channel and stuff like that. So just to keep me out of that gray area, I just pay the sales tax up front. Now, if I had to buy 500 tumblers that I'm going to turn around and resell, that's one of them situations. Okay, I can do it now because I can show where they came in and where they went out, and it's going to be a clear cut path. But with like you said, with materials, it's kind of like, did you sell all that plywood? Did you use all that plywood to make these ornaments? So that's why I'll just go ahead and just eat the taxes to keep from having to fool with it, because I don't want to throw up any red flags. I don't want to have to spend 2 or 3 days out here going through my books, showing somebody something because I tried to save $3.
There's one that maybe you can answer, possibly, because you've had the 40 watt as well. Patricia Richardson's asking. They've got her husband and her are newbies for 40 watt. We create, trying to figure out cut settings for Basswood 3mm, also settings for mirrors. Enjoy your videos, very informative.
With the 40 watt 3mm Basswood, pretty fast. I would say with that 40 watt, you're probably going to be near 20 millimeters a second, or I'd have to do the math.
If it's clear Basswood, not plywood.
Yeah, if it's plywood, then you're probably gonna have to back it down to
like 12 to 16, somewhere
15, in there. Yeah, I was thinking 15 probably, but just straight up 1/8 inch freaking just trimmed off basswood, you can blast through that stuff 20, maybe even get lucky depending on which part of the basswood it is. You might can get up to 30 because that stuff cuts like butter. Now, like you said, if it's layered, it's gonna slow you down a little bit. That glue gets in there. Mirrors, you'll just have to test. It's very fast. Mirrors do not require a whole lot if you're doing it from the backside. Don't do shiny side, do the backside. But you can go really, really fast. I would say with a 40 watt, at least 400 millimeters a second with probably like 20% power should be adequate. I would still test to make sure, because you're going to want to test to see if you're getting that frosted look or clear, or there's several different looks that you can get. When you're doing mirrors, you do want to raise the focus up a couple 3 millimeters. If you don't, you can actually bust a mirror.
And some mirrors also, I've gotten some where they have like more of a white backing instead of that gray one.
Oh yeah, that white, terrible.
And then you almost have to apply some paint to get it to blast through that, which is really annoying. So careful on the types of mirrors you get.
Yeah, I got some of those too. Me and you both bought the same mirrors, and we were I think we're both trying to do them on fibers, and it was like it's not budging. Oh.
Norbert's asking me, Ventari, Dave is very entrepreneurial, as we know. Do you go out drumming up laser or woodworking work like Dave, or are you just mainly YouTube content centric? So I mentioned the foam flight stuff that I used to do up until a couple of years ago. I was really heavy into more retail, making things for the end user. I'd batch out kits of various things, so they weren't really, I wasn't doing really customized stuff. It was I would create things, glue caddies, airplane stands, airplane kits, things like that. And so it was very what I would consider retail. Due to just kind of getting burned out a little bit on that, and just the changing costs of things. I did a bit of a reset during COVID, started doing more YouTube content because couldn't go to shows, couldn't do some of that stuff. And now I focus more on kind of one-offs. I work with people on specialty engravings, but less of that. I mean, I tend to, the thing is like price it to where they're going to say no, and if they take it, it's worth your time. But I've been doing more of like business to business stuff, so I try to work more with, like I've done a few of those videos where I was making some apparel for the farmer, or doing a bundle of pens. Not so much tumblers. I don't know why. Tumblers and me, I don't push them a lot. But trying to do those bulk things instead of necessarily kind of retail one-off stuff. So or I do things where I'll go and set up for a specialty event to try to maybe support the event / make some money on the side kind of thing. But yeah, so I'm not quite as, I don't know. I mean, because David does a lot of that as well, but he's kind of working. A lot of his work comes from other businesses. He's doing the stove covers for the building place. He works with the photographer for things, or like whole sports team kind of thing.
That reminds me. I've got an order I got to get done for her.
But yeah,
party planner.
I don't do a lot of the. You're not going to see me at like a lot of farmers markets or craft fairs just setting up trying to sell like local stuff. I would rather price it to where maybe I make a little bit less, but I am providing another business with inventory, or giving them their swag for their stuff. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, burn carve print. It's still over there. The release on it has been pushed back. So sorry, but you haven't missed it. It's just it has not been released yet, so it's still classified for now. Oh, see somebody else. Oh, there's one.
Lee said his wife bought him a CNC router. It came with a bunch of router bits, but I don't know what each bit is for. How do I find out what they are to be used for? Yeah, that's unfortunate. Hopefully they have at least some documentation with it, but I think both you and I have gotten them where they have just kind of a random pack of bits and you got to try to figure it out. Yeah, you probably honestly nowadays do some searching on YouTube, watch some videos on like beginner stuff, because you'll start to see what the different bits are, what the different end mills are. So there's such a variety of them, but you're going to have typical like upcut or downcut bits that are, going to have like generally 2, maybe 3 flutes on them. And those are going to be more for your cutting and some carving. You might have some that have more of a come down to a point. Those are like V bits. Those tend to be more for engraving. There are also some that are like tapered ball nose. Those tend to be more for 3D engraving kind of stuff. And then there's specialty bits like flattening bits for surfacing material or your spoil board, bowl bits, which will have kind of a cutting edge, but then a rounded shape so that it kind of leaves that tapered inside cut. There's a lot of them out there. And so it's hard to get used to them, but if you look at Cody's website, Cadence Manufacturing, he's got a few things that's like a starter kit. And I think his starter kit has an end mill, a V carve bit, and what's the third one? Is it
ball nose maybe?
It might be a ball nose one. Don't get too overwhelmed with all of the bits that are out there. I would say your first ones maybe should just be engraves. Play around with those V bits that come with it. So those are going to be like the tapered sharp point ones. And then maybe the end mills for doing some cutting and or pocketing. Worry about those two. If you've got those two styles first, kind of that'll allow you to do some of the simple projects to kind of get used to it.
The Hamilton deal. Let's see that you got the Hamilton deal back.
Yeah,
that one is going to be. That's going to be the 30 degree. Looks like it's going to be. Was that a down cut?
Oh, and the bowl bit. Okay.
And then the STL woodworking, this is an inlay kit. It's going to be the ball nose. Looks like what is that? 1/8 inch down cut, and then a 1/4 inch down cut, I guess. But yeah, if you start out with, a couple of down cut, couple of up cut end mills, and either a ball nose or a V bit, depending on how you want to do text or how you, but you can do a lot with just a straight up like a down cut end mill or compression bit. That's like these little games that I made. I used 2 different bits. I used the Jenny bit, and then I used the ball nose, which the ball nose is still chucked into the machine because it was the last pass I ran. But yeah, this is just a 1/4 inch Jenny compression bit, and that's what I used on this oak. And I found that I like the compression bit better, especially with the oak, than I do with like an upcut, because oak will splinter really bad, and you have a lot of tear out on the top. But it doesn't seem to do that as much with the Jenny bit. I had one tear out today, and it was on the router table when I was rounding the edges. The router caught it and ripped a little corner out of it. So these right here will get you to doing a lots of different projects, and this thing's holding up really well. I was thinking that as much as I've run it here lately, it would start getting dirty, but it's actually staying clean.
So, mine's cooler.
You got to go make yours. I didn't get to make mine.
Yes, at great cost to Cody, though. I checked it with him today, and he's starting to feel better. But I think he said one or two of the kids are still recovering. It just made me feel bad.
You done sent it home with Cody too?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So. Darren.
I think we clicked on the same one.
Yeah. Darren's asking, has any of the companies you've done reviews for the product not like your review? I don't know. Nobody's told me they didn't like it. But they know how I am. So, I mean, they probably would just quit reaching out to me. I don't think they would say anything.
Yeah, no. I generally point out the positives, and then the areas of improvement,
yes.
for corporate speak, for you sucked at this. And most of them take that pretty fair. There was one product that I can think of. Maybe there's been another, but there's one product that I can think of that I just straight up told. I was working back and forth with him because I was struggling with it, getting it to work right. And I just flat out told him, I said, listen, you don't want me to put a video out about this. I'm tired of working with it. It's not going to do anything remotely comparable to its counterparts. If you want it back, send me a shipping label. But I just, at this point, I don't think it, because they didn't even have it out on their website yet. So I didn't feel like I was being dishonest to not publish it. So, but other than that, I think, and for most, I would say 97% of my videos, they don't see it until it goes live. I mean, because that's one of the things that, unless it's something, I mean, we generally won't sign contracts, and if so, that's one of the clauses that we push back on quite a bit. And so most of them are okay with it. They just kind of say, hey, these are the things we want. At most, they've come back and said, hey, can you add this information to the description? Or they'll come back later and say, hey, we've got this sale. Can you add that to the description? And I'm like, editing the description is not a big deal, but I tell them, I say, I'm not gonna go and really edit something unless I blatantly said something wrong.
Yeah, well, that's what I say. The only time I went back and changed something on my video based on something that the company said was when I flat out messed up and gave a number that wasn't exactly correct. And they're like, oh, you said it was this, but it's actually this. So that's why I steer clear of a lot of the technical stuff. I'll send you to the page that the company has with all the tech specs on it, because I can't remember all that stuff. And I'm sitting here trying to make this video. And if I try to memorize all that, or if I try to read it off of a, teleprompter, and then next week, they change that information. Now I got to go back and change my video. because some engineer over there realized that they put too many zeros in front of the number, behind the number, or whatever. And so now I've got to redo my video or just be, oh, you're lying about it. So I try to stay away from that stuff. Christoph is asking, for a 20-watt fiber laser, how would you get the diameter for a flask for cylinder correction? I'm having a problem with equal colors on my flasks. If you're trying to get colors on metal, that's going to be tough with a rounded flask, unless you have a rotary and you can finagle that, because you're going to be, with that flask, you're going to be 2 or 3 millimeters out of focus on the edges as opposed to in the middle. Your best bet, split the focus, go for law of averages and hope for the best. But that whole getting colors with a laser thing is gimmicky as all get out, in my opinion.
Yeah. And so there would be a calculation to be able to like measure the distance that it is, and then to try to figure out the curve. But yeah, it's going to be tough to get that exactly, to figure out the curvature of that. So I don't know. Yeah, I tend to stay away from the straight stainless steel flasks and go for, blasting away the coated ones myself, and not do the whole color thing. Just for that very reason, is that you generally get away with that blasting away the coating than you do trying to get a solid coloration on it. So
there's one of Ryan's friends, Klondike, from over at Making It Up As They Go.
Yeah, good to see you here, Sean. Excuse me. That's a good question. How often do you need to clean your laser area?
Whenever it's dirty.
Yeah. This is one of those definitely it depends questions. It can be, depending on the material running and the type of job, your laser could stay fairly clean. Whereas, if you're doing something with, especially like MDF, where it's got a lot of those glues and resins in it, or even certain types of woods, they're going to leave some sticky residue on your air assist cone. It's going to leave it on your honeycomb, and you might find that even midday you're wanting to take a pause and do a cleaning. As far as cleaning the actual honeycomb, I probably let that go longer than it needs to, but you'll definitely start seeing, it's leaving the much darker areas, and you may even be getting some flashback from it. That's definitely a sign you got to clean it. Or if you're getting a lot of little stains on the back that you didn't used to, again, that's probably a good sign that you need to clean the honeycomb itself. But the rest of the laser, I've been known to, take a quick 5-minute pause midday if I'm doing a lot of work, just clean off rails, clean off the air assist cone, take a quick check, make sure there's nothing building up on the lens cover, or if it's the CO2, the mirrors and such. Definitely worth that over having debris build up on there and cause a bigger issue.
Yeah, you'll know. Smoke will start getting bad. You'll start getting staining, all that good stuff. The lens is, like you said, the lens is the biggest thing to keep clean. George is asking, is the Shipoko 2 of any value as an entry-level CNC these days? And I would say that depends. Are you asking because you have a Shipoko 2, or you got a friend that's going to let you have it? You got, found one in a estate sale that's like little or nothing. I mean, what's the situation? Could it be a valuable tool? It depends, but it is a CNC and it does work. I didn't even know for sure what the 2 looked like, but I'm sitting here looking at some of the stuff. It is a very, very, like, by today's standards, it's very bare bones. If you can step it up and like find a Shipoko 4, you would probably be better suited. Those are still fairly competitive as far as the market goes and what you can do and what you can't do with it. There's still parts available from Shapeoko for it. Because if you get the Shapeoko 2, my biggest fear would be that if you got it and something broke, now you're not necessarily going to be able to go get parts for it because it is an older machine. The 4 or either the Pro would probably be where I would try to go if you wanted to try to go with something a little bit less expensive than the 5 Pro. What do you think, Steve? You may have actually got to see one more than I have.
You know, the nice thing about some of those older machines is while they a lot of them use like standard extrusion for parts, they use standard belts, they use standard rollers. It gets to be like the end plates and maybe the Z plates that were a little bit different. So as long as the core of the machine is good, I mean, you can replace the spindle motor with, you know, usually there's options for, I think that one had everything from like a Dremel on up maybe to a trim router. The stepper motors are fairly standard. So from a being able to fix it standpoint, you're probably going to be able to get by replacing most of the parts without too much hassle. That being said, it is an older device. I would want to make sure I'm getting a pretty good deal on it.
Yeah.
You know, there are some pretty decent machines out there that aren't terribly expensive, that you know are new and probably have a little more support out of the gate. So, and that's the thing. Anytime you're looking at an older used machine, just be 100% sure that whatever that price is, you're good if you have to pay a bit more to fix someone else's problems. That might not be heading. Definitely, if you can get it and to power it up and kind of run it through some things, always would make me feel better. But yeah, if you could find an inexpensive, you know, CNC to at least play around and see if you like it, it's probably a good idea. But anytime with used tools, because I've been there, yes, sometimes you're inheriting someone else's problems that, you know, you hopefully get an idea from the seller or whoever, if they're a fairly honest person. You know, if they're pointing out everything, hey, I did this, but this is a little problem, but we fixed it this way, versus them being kind of just not telling you much. They might tell you a bit about it. So
any input on the David's asking what the best filament size for the Bambo Mini is, because I don't have it.
Well, I think that pretty much takes the 1.75 millimeter. That's the kind of the standard stuff. And that's all I've used in mine. You can get different nozzles, and then it just adjusts the flow rate and such for that. I don't know that they have the setup to feed through, you know, like thicker filament or anything. So I pretty much stay with that 1.75.
All right, Dennis is asking, said he noticed you're out of stock of your lenses on Etsy. Do you know when you'll have more in stock? I think he probably threw that out of stock because he was under the weather.
Well, I ran out of stock just before I left, and I debated getting some kits together because, you know, bless my wife, she'll ship them out while I'm gone. But I just ran out of time beforehand. I should have a couple days. I should have some back in stock. That was part of me getting back into the shop today. I needed to get caught up on getting those rebuilt. As far as the 12 millimeter lenses, I've been playing with some stuff. I got that bag to you at Vegas, right? I sent some home with you.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I finally did get some today.
I haven't used them. Matter of fact, I didn't check and see where I put them.
So I've got one in my A24. I swapped that one out. I need to double check if I had tried it in the 40, but then it should work in the 70. So I do want to do some more testing to see if they're going to be reliable at that size. It'd be nice, but I want to be really sure about whether they're going to work right. So. All right, it wasn't COVID. I did test for that. I'm pretty sure it's whatever weird strain of influenza A that's been going around.
Bob, I use Windex. If I need something more powerful, I just use the cheapest isopropyl alcohol that Dollar General has to offer. But typically, I mean, as far as cleaning the enclosure itself, as far as the Rolly or any of these machines goes, Windex will clean the acrylic. And even the metal parts, Windex does a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's really stubborn, you may have to break out the isopropyl alcohol. I keep it in a spray bottle.
Yeah, I use Windex for most of that stuff. Just general cleaning on my lasers and the windows. I do have both the normal Windex, but also the ammonia-free stuff, just because sometimes I'll run that through my airbrush as well, as like a thinner and a cleaner. But yeah,
Real bad.
well, yeah, Simple Green and LA Awesome. That's for the green, like you get that gunk on the air assist cone, stuff like that. You gotta
the belly pan of that Rolly will accumulate that stuff too if you let it go too long. It'll turn to mud when you spray it.
ETLC is asking, do I need to do anything in Lightburn to get my Atomstack X40 air assist set up to work through Lightburn? Also, same for my Monport 40-watt air assist. If they're your Atomstack X40, you do need to double check in the Lightburn settings for the device. That what is it under
M8?
Yeah, so it'd be under the device settings that M8. Some of the older ones were on M7, but it should default to M8. But that's going to be the air assist. And then in your layers, then you should see that switch appear for air, which would be over on the far right. Those should only be the two things that you need to check to get that working. Now the Monport, I'm not sure what controller that is. There again, it would be if they have Lightburn controllable air assist. It's going to either be on that M8 or M7 relay, and then turning that option on. But I don't know. Now they have come out with a newer Monport M40 since you and I got ours. I don't know how the air assist works on there. On my Reno, it's just on. You turn the machine on and the air assist is on. So it's not controllable.
Peter's asking, how do you get text to overlay and design in XCS like I did on the ceramic coffee mugs? I don't remember which. Maybe talking about the logo. That logo wasn't like that was just a file that I was sent from Cog Hill, if that's the one that you're talking about. But you would have to create two different lines if you wanted to. I'm trying to get everything pulled up, but I'll let me see if I can do this here the way Steve likes to do it. It's a lot easier. So here we go. So on XCS, you're going to do basically the same thing you do in Lightburn. The controls are a little different, and I'm not well versed in XCS, but luckily, just today I was using it with my Ultra to do some stuff. I don't know why my lines are not showing up. I guess they're showing on y'all's screen, but they're not showing up on mine. It must be something to do with the screen sharing. But like, let's say you brought it. Well, let's do it this way. Quit. We'll just do a rectangle, and you're wanting to do text inside that. Basically, when you do text inside it, it's just gonna need to be like, see how you got this here. Should be click that. Wait a minute. Click both of them. And nope, wrong one. This is so much easier in Lightburn. There you go. So that's how you would do that. So like if you had a shape, you're going to select both of them. And it would probably be easier if I put this on a layer that was on top and change the color. So I could actually change this over to, say, a red layer. So if I wanted to make like a recess, a hole in this text, like in this shape or whatever, in the shape of the text, then I'm just going to click that one, and I'm going to hold shift, click the other one, and then use the Boolean, the subtract at overlapped, and it's gonna basically punch a hole in that shape using the text as kind of a tool line to set that hole. So there you go. Same thing, like if you wanted to do a circle in here also, and you do the same thing. You click that one, hold shift, click the other one, and then you can do it that way. So you could put a circle inside the square. It's all about, basically, you have to have another field to subtract, basically. That's the best way I know to explain it. But it's easier, to me, it's easier in Lightburn because I don't design in XCS. I do basic stuff. That is probably the most complex thing I've done in XCS in a while, is what we just did. Because I prefer Lightburn.
Chris is asking about, when building boxes, what is the best method and how do you get the joints a little tighter using the X tool P2? So there's a couple different ways you can go about this. One thing, and I will do similar to what Kalak was talking about. You can go to sites such as this, boxes.py is one of them. And they have some nice box creators based on all sorts of different types of projects you might want to work with. But if you're just doing a standard box, you can come into this tool and set all the parameters of the size, whether that's inside or outside, whatnot. But when you're worrying about getting the tighter fit, you want to kind of dial in your kerf. And so that's the amount of material that's removed by the laser beam that's following down your line. It's cutting both inside and outside of that line. So I know I've done a couple videos on kerf correction, so you might want to check that out. But what we're trying to get at is this number down here. They call it burn correction, and this is in millimeters. So they're doing a 0.01 millimeter correction to the outside of the line, and that's a pretty good starting point for most lasers. Some diodes are going to be a little bit smaller than that, but for the CO2, that'll probably work fine. And then of course you can download that file, but if we come into hold on, I've got to change this now. If we come into XCS, gotta actually stop that. And
I put a link to your kerf video in the comments.
So if we come into XCS, you can, so what I did was went ahead and downloaded that file. I should be able to drag that right in there and whatever. We're not worried about the text. So you have your design. What you can come in here and you're going to be doing a cut. What you can do is play with this kerf offset here. So you can turn this on and you can either do a positive or a negative number. And so that's going to go inward if it's negative and outward if it's positive. So there again, you can kind of dial in what your kerf settings are. And on the P2, I would start at maybe 0.1 millimeters out. And you can do a test cut with these. And you can actually, if you look at my video file, I believe I have just a small file linked that has just a few box joints that you can play with that size. You want it to be where you can push it together without like straining, and you can pull it back apart, but that if you push them together, they're still going to hold. You don't want it too tight. You don't want it too loose, because the glue will help close that joint back up. But this kerf offset is really what you're looking at adjusting on any of your files that maybe you make on your own or you get from Etsy or another place, to help close those gaps on your files. So hopefully that'll help you out.
I'm trying to get down to the regular comments. Somebody was asking, I keep getting hung up.
Sorry, I missed the other part of his. He's asked what glue method. I would recommend wood glue. It gives you time to get everything together without it's carrying too fast, and it's easier to clean up. If you're in a hurry, you can add a little bit CA, but just better make sure that everything's fitting just right. And that will be a little more brittle of a joint. So if it's gonna take any sort of abuse, I'd go with wood glue or even white glue over CA. Just give it a 10-15 minutes to set up.
Yep. Bobby, you can actually, if you've got aluminum dog tags, you can use marking spray. Haven't done aluminum. Yeah, it works on aluminum. It works on aluminum, brass, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So you could use marking spray, but no, you're not going to, a CO2 is not going to engrave or do anything to aluminum. A fiber will, but not a CO2 or a diode. You're going to need, you can put the marking spray on there and have a look, but it's not going to be engraved. It's going to be marked.
Yeah, the marking spray too on like brass and aluminum, those softer metals, you're probably going to be needing a higher wattage than your typical diodes. Your CO2, you're probably talking 50, 60 watts before it's really going to fuse that. It's weird. I've been doing some playing. I'm trying to feel out the different marking sprays for what they're good at and what lasers work with them. And aluminum and brass those are two of those materials that are just they're difficult to work with if you don't have a fiber.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Brad, I haven't done a project with it yet. It's still brand new. It works. I got it charged up. It's right here. It works. But all the projects that I've had come in, I haven't been required to use it yet. So maybe when something comes in. Right now, I'm too busy with other stuff, though.
You okay over there? Perman's asking, what would you guys say is the best way to rotary engrave glass with a diode? And I've done this, but using the chuck style on the outside of the glass tends to work best for me. And then you're just going to have to get. I use the marking spray at that point. Getting a full coverage, depending on how much of the glass you're looking to engrave, getting full coverage smoothly is doable with an airbrush and like tempera paint, but the marking spray is just so much quicker. So, but yeah, I use the chuck style on the outside.
I don't know why I'm sneezing tonight, but these cats, I guess cats stirred up some dander in here or something. They got me tonight, though.
Paul's asking, do you know anything about Aether going out of business? I don't know any details about it. I've heard rumor there was some copyright infringement of designs and such that maybe they were someone pushed on. But in some of these cases too, we've seen where companies kind of spin up an off brand to kind of see if it's going to go, and then sometimes shut it down or just reabsorb it. But I don't know for sure what happened with Aether.
There you go, sir. Got it done. It's got a little logo in the back. Got a little logo in the back of them. But yeah, got 4 of these guys. My daughter said that my one little turn's pretty challenging. She's like, "Dad, did you design this puzzle yourself?" And I was like, "I sure did." Because I have this one little spot right there that it'll get on you if you don't watch it.
Yeah, that's where I would use this canopy glue that we use in the model airplane. It goes on white, but it dries clear, and it's kind of just a little rubbery. So you do have to let it set up for a while. But
these needs to be sanded again. I just took the tape off that one.
Erickson Design and Woodworking asking, with the kerf offset, will it work with complex drawings like laser marquetry? I need to update my software. I don't have these options in XCS. It will work as long as it's a single object, like a single complete outline. If it's a broken line, it won't work. It has to be basically be able to see this is like the one enclosed object. That's the one enclosed object. And so, yeah, then it will work in those instances. Kerf's pretty simple. I mean, if it's a closed object, it'll adjust the whole thing by whatever size in or out. It's basically just an offset. But it's nice to do that so that you can create a file with a base drawing size, and then instead of manually going in and adjusting your offset, you just tell them, hey, adjust for kerf, and you'll be good to go. Now, that's a little different than the slot and tab resize tool in Lightburn. That one gets a little more tricky about what it wants to see to get them all resized right. But yeah, in marquetry, as long as they're all individual single solid or closed objects, it should work fine for
that. MC is asking, are customers typically happy with the long-term results of the X-Tool 2-watt-hour module? I realize it's a mark, not an engraved. Does it actually rub off like dog tags? You can mark with a diode. It marks the metal itself. It's not a coating or anything. So typically it's can you get it off? Probably, but you'd have to sand it with some sandpaper or something. Is my experience. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, the only area where it might come off would be if you're removing like a painted coating instead of like a powder coating or an anodization. That will be more susceptible to wear off. But the others are pretty much, because they're fused more to the material. They're pretty durable. Especially the anodization ones and or like the stainless steel that actually kind of anneals it. So
if you're wanting to do like dog tags with black text, let me find one. It's easier for me to show you. The ones that I've been getting some of them, and you can actually well, I don't know what I did with it. I may have gave it away, but I buy these black ones, and you can actually engrave. Yeah, I lost it. You buy the black anodized stainless steel dog tags, and instead of engraving to make it black, you engrave it to make it silver. You basically remove the anodization, and you leave the anodization where you want the black. So it's kind of like mirror imaging your design. It would take a while with like a 2-watt because you're covering so much ground. But if you're doing them, with like a low powered fiber or something like that, and you want black marking instead of engraving, it does a pretty cool effect. You can do it with an IR. It's just going to take longer. The ones that I did with the F1 with the Galvo with the little IR module, and it didn't take all that long. And I don't know where they're at. But
Lori's asking, what would you suggest I use to join 2 or 3 pieces of acrylic together to form a safety shield for my comp marker? I want to create a 3-side shield, and she's using a comp marker UV. When the proper stuff to use for that is weld on 3, and a little bit goes a long way. It actually will fuse the 2 pieces together, like a plastic cement or something like that. So I can show that here. So this is what you're looking at. It's been a few years since I bought it. A little bit goes a long ways, but comes in a can and then has this little needle applicator. So you end up putting the parts together, and then letting the basically capillary action will wick the material into the joint. You let it sit for a little bit, and it will cement those together. So that's the stuff that really works well for gluing acrylic together, but know that it is a permanent bond. So I'll drop a link in there for that if you want to check that out. But that's the best way to do it.
So it's not like a temporary bond.
Oh no, it chemically fuses them together. It's I mean, when it says weld on, it's like basically welding, like, you know, you weld metal together, it kind of becomes one. So but yeah, it's good to definitely good to create an enclosure for that. Even if you're just using it yourself, but if you're going to be using it outside with anybody else, definitely having some sort of protection for that. Anyway, getting caught up unless we missed someone's question, so feel free to drop it back down again, and we'll try to answer those questions. We still got another 20 minutes left tonight, so we must not be talking as much as we normally do, because it feels like we get way behind.
I don't know how we got caught up. We usually don't get caught up, but I mean, it's good we did. Not knocking it.
Yep. Yeah. People are curious about how your airbrush works.
Well, if I'll try to come up with a project. I do have, if he brings them to me, he was supposed to bring them this weekend. I do have a bunch of shot glasses I'm supposed to be engraving. I had planned on doing them with the UV, but you know, I could try a couple of them. Or wait a minute, I got some glasses over there. I think I bought. Yeah, I might try to throw a video together next few days. I've got some tempera paint over there that I haven't used. I bought a bunch of it when I first started doing this, and I never could get it coated right with a brush. And so it's just been sitting up there collecting dust and spider webs.
You probably need to thin that down 30 to 50%, depending on your airbrush. But
yeah, what I'm seeing is like a 1-to-1 is what everybody's recommending for them, keep them stopping up the nozzles or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't get too scientific about mine. I try to get it to that kind of
do the drip test.
Yeah, the drip test. and
just to make sure that the surface tension isn't too bad.
Yeah. So here's a question we maybe missed. George is asking, Lightburn doesn't seem to work with the X-Tool P2 cameras. Is there an add-on camera for Lightburn that will fit into the P2? I don't know. That's a pretty tight space. You'd have to get a fairly wide angle one, or what a lot of the places will do is put it on the lid, so when it's up, it's pointing down at the bed. I don't like that as much because it adds. I mean, if that lid isn't quite in the same spot.
Yeah, Atomstack did that with the Hurricane, and it annoyed me because you had to open the lid to take another picture.
Yeah, well, and I just feel like it wouldn't be as accurate being on the on that hinge surface. That is it really going to park itself in the same spot every time with the?
I didn't really have any accuracy problems with it. It was just annoying that when I would try to take a picture, it would take a picture of the back of my head, or take a picture of this other side of the shop, and I was like, man, that was the annoying part to me. Like with the Omtech, the camera in it needs to be about 6 inches higher to be able to do what it's supposed to do accurately. But at least I ain't got to close the lid and take a picture. You know what I mean? The P2, I will say this, the P2 has the most accurate camera of any desktop CO2 laser I've ever used.
Yeah, as long as you do everything right.
Yes.
As long as you do everything right, you want to make sure you get it to
focus.
It's got to do its measurement first.
Yeah.
If you skip that step, you're still going to be off. But then, do your detailed measurement or the close view. I would agree with that.
Yeah, that close camera, that close camera is dead on. Like the one I had was very accurate. Or the one I got, I still got it. It's like right there. It's just not currently in service.
But it would probably have to be a, one of those 180-degree fisheye cameras.
Yeah, that's all I run in here anyway. But even the fisheyes, though, you get too close to the workspace, they struggle. because the corners of the work area, the outer edges of the work area the camera will be just contorted.
Yep.
Manny is asking any suggestions on how to learn more about the Xtool S1. Your videos are extremely helpful, and I'd love the opportunity to face-to-face classes. You mentioned the conference. I'd consider attending. Your best bet, just binge watch. Steve's got some videos. As far as XCS, whether it's the S1, the P2, the F1, the F1 Ultra, if it's using XCS, the process is basically the same. Now, there are some of our videos are older, and XCS has been through a few like changes since some of the older videos. But all of the machines operationally, as far as settings and stuff like that, a blue diode laser is a blue diode laser, regardless of what box it's in or what sticker it's got on it, who made it or whatever. The light and the materials are going to interact the same way. You're going to have speed, focus, LPI, those are, and power. Those are your big variables. And regardless of what machine it is, the variables are going to be just as variable as any of the rest of them. Xtool does bring a little extra to the table, because if you use XCS, a lot of the settings are already in there for you, and their settings are fairly accurate. I'm not going to say they're 100%, but if you are engraving a stainless steel dog tag and you click stainless steel dog tag, you will have a result. It might not be perfect, but it will mark whatever it is it says it's supposed to mark. So that's one of the benefits. So if you got the S1, geez, I highly recommend using XCS with any Xtool product. Even though, like I said, I love designing in Lightburn, but operating the machine, you miss out on a lot of the extra things that Xtool brings to the table if you don't use XCS.
Yeah. So little self promotion here. If you go to my channel and you click on the little search bar here, you just hit up XCS. These top two videos, Xtool S1 and XCS 2.0, it's an hour and 15 minutes, but I go through a lot of the stuff of, getting it connected and kind of some of your first few projects, doing some tests with it and such. Hopefully that would be a good one to help you kind of get along there as well. And then material test grids. This one's a little bit older, but it's pretty much the same in there. Definitely something you're going to want to learn to do on any new material that you're running with your laser, is being able to run a test grid, because Xtool has some nice settings, but they don't have all the materials in there. And sometimes what they are having for, say, walnut plywood might be different from what you're sourcing. So being able to set up and run those test grids are pretty good. So those are the two from my channel I would recommend. I get a lot of people that are saying, hey, I really appreciate that kind of jumpstart video on that one. And I do have mine set up in the shop down here, and there's a lot of different project videos on there. I mean, any of these that have creative space in there, I have some tips on working with the software, and it might not be the project you want to do, but it'll help you learn a few more tips and tricks along the way of doing some of these things. Like in this custom picture frame one, I talk about doing some custom text and outlines of it to make some modifications. So yeah, there's a lot out there between our channels and other people's channels to help you kind of get some inspiration and work through some projects to kind of get you a little further down the road.
Dawn, I haven't released that machine, and somebody was asking, Norbert's asking, that's Cali, but yes, that is. Oh,
it's been delayed a little bit.
Yeah, the machine over there under the CNC is currently on delay. They ran into, for whatever reason, they wanted to push it back before I revealed it. So that's what we're doing. We're pushing it back right now. Corey's asking, so what's up with the D1, the Xtool and their D1 series? So much drama going around the Facebook groups. What's y'all's take on it? The D1 was a good machine. I liked mine. I don't have the 20 watt. I've got my 10 watt hanging up over there. But I think that because they have so many products now, that's just, I mean, just like they don't make the Ford Pinto anymore. Eventually, companies are going to phase out things when they quit selling them, or if there's like, you know, maybe people are trying to sue them over getting hurt with them or whatever, and they want to go to Enclosure. We don't know what all of the behind the scenes stuff are, but the natural progression of electronics and tools is there's always going to be that next big thing, and eventually they are going to die off. There's so many other machines right now. I think part of the reason is you got companies like ASMR, like Algo Laser with the Alphas, and that is a very competitive market as far as the open gantry machines. And then you throw in, you know, the Rolly because it has the enclosure and everything. Now, I think that they just chose to move forward, and I mean, I don't have any hard feelings about it. To me, the S1 is kind of a D1 on steroids. The only thing that I wish they had done differently is gave it just a little deeper work area. The width is fine. I wish they'd have made it just a little bit deeper so that, you know, when you said, hey, you know, we're discontinuing the D1, but we have this S1, if it was, you know, deeper than the D1 and wider than the D1, I don't see how anybody would have a complaint. That would be the only thing that I think I would like to see them do.
Or at least as deep as the D1.
Yeah, at least as the same.
Kind of like a Rolly, they made their XW. They kept the depth, but they made it wider.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand the direction of going, you know, lasers are a very cool tool, and they've become very mainstream in the past, you know, three-ish years, where it's not abnormal for people to be looking at them or having them in their home shop, craft room, whatnot. And I can understand the concern about, hey, you know, yes, it's an open frame laser. You should enclose it or use glasses. And laser manufacturers really didn't do themselves any favors with some of the advertising and marketing they've been doing, showing, you know, engraving on the coffee table and such.
Or the companies at CES that are just,
well, yeah, and some of them that there. So I can understand them maybe going, hey, we're going to move forward with safer machines. Where I think they screwed up is they should have said this, like, hey, we're discontinuing the D1, but we are going to support them with parts for 12 or 16 months. They should have made that commitment to say, we're giving you a heads up.
Yeah.
But we will commit to having parts for another year. So I think that's the one thing that if they would have done that, it would have gone over a lot smoother. Because I understand. I mean, people that just bought a 40-watt D1, they spent $1,500 on it. I'd be a little annoyed if all of a sudden they're like, I don't know that I'll be able to get, you know, and I know they will. They've got a backlog of parts, but people are concerned that they can't just go out and buy the parts. So I think they dropped the ball a little bit on reassuring
the way they went about discontinuing it definitely could have used some work.
Yeah,
I understand why they did it, but how they did it definitely could use a little finessing.
But I think you're hearing a lot about it is because they have been such a successful company. They have such a big customer base. Because you go on Atomstack's site, you look for some of those older lasers, they're not there. It's hard to find them. So it's not like this hasn't happened to other companies. It's just, I think Xtool has a bigger audience, a bigger customer base that, you know, good or bad, the noise is going to be louder.
Yep. Somebody else asking about the package. Nope, it's still there.
Well, you're gonna just miss that other one.
I guess everybody's wanting to know what's under there, but I can't tell you yet. So,
well, no, you flashed the other question up there, but you didn't address it.
Which one?
That one. No, that one.
Oh, I got ahead of myself.
Yeah, you got to stop clicking on them so early, because then you forget that you didn't answer it.
Richard, I support local folks around here with machines that a lot of them are either in law enforcement, firefighting, prior military, disabled folks, schools, whatever. I have plenty of places to basically put the machines. I have agreements with people that, hey, I have this machine. I'm not using it in my shop rather than just sitting in a closet collecting dust. Take it to your shop, use it, take care of it. If I need it, bring it back. Let me use it for a video, and then you take it back home with you. That's pretty much my agreement that I make with the folks that I know here locally. And like I said, it's yes, I probably could sell them, but I like having them close and having them accessible in case, like I've had people before go, hey, we're releasing a new machine. Can you compare this one to our old one to kind of show people the upgrades? And so I'll be like, okay, yeah, I can do that. So I have to recall the older machine, get it back in the shop and do a little comparison to it and then send it back out. Once machines get to where I don't need them at all, here lately, I have been sending them to our STEM program at the high school level. I donate machines, glasses, safety equipment, enclosures, fans, all the stuff they need to set them up and run them to them so that they can play around with them. They have a big CO2, but as far as like, it's like I told them, I don't care if they at that point that I've gave them to them, they can take them apart and make other things out of them if they want to, because the steppers and the controllers and stuff like that, they actually can go in and reprogram those and set them up to, I don't know, make coffee if they want to. I don't care what they do with them at that point, because those are typically going to be like your 10-watt machines and 5-watt machines that I've had for a long time. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Steve?
Kind of similar, with the companies that I've got kind of long-term relationships with. I try to keep machines on hand to be able to do some of the comparisons with their maybe their new release with the latest one. But also just like tonight, we've been answering questions about various lasers. Clack and I get people emailing, IMing us, and we want to help you. Sometimes it gets a bit much. And if you're listening, if you ever want help from me, reach out to me. Just please don't do it through Etsy.
Don't use Etsy. Etsy is not for communication.
No, because there's a lot of Etsy does their metrics based on that. They see, you got to reply to them in so much time, and they're thinking everybody's a customer. And so just please, we've got other ways of reaching out through Facebook, through Instagram, through email and such. Please do it that way. But I've had a lot of instances where I've been able to pull that machine off the shelf, take some photos, and send photos to someone, say, okay, here, check this. But I also have been able to connect a lot of area people with machines, whether they're wanting to try it out before they buy one. And I've talked with some of our programs at the technical college, the community technical college I work with, talking about that as well. But there are some times too that, we end up trying to just move them on to people. The hard part about this, just shipping, these things, if we don't keep the exact box, even if we do, some of these boxes come and they're not cheap to ship. So we try to give back to the community in some ways on things that we can, that's reasonable. So, it's a good reason to stay tuned to our live streams and such, because every so often we might pop up a, hey, I've got this and let's do a quick draw for it kind of thing. So, but yeah.
I did drawings on a couple of the machines, but we have to plan that in advance. And right now I don't have room to keep up with the boxes.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of these machines too, once you put them together, it's kind of a pain to take them back apart and put them back in the box.
Yep.
So that's why a lot of the machine giveaway stuff, if I do give one away, it's going to be somebody local. It's going to be somebody that can drive here, put it in their car and drive away with it, because I don't like shipping stuff. It costs money, and all that. But most of the time it's somebody from here in my community. Klein gets like all my hand-me-downs first, and then Billy gets it, and Chris and several other people. I got a niece that's she lives in South Alabama. She's like engraving Bibles and doing bookmarks and stuff like that to raise money for her church and Sunday school class and so forth. I mean, I have lots of folks that here locally that I help out, and I've got a guy just reached out to me the other day. I saw him at Tractor Supply that I used to go to church with, and we've kind of swapped churches, but he's gotten into it and is interested in, housing, foster caring one of my machines for me if I get one, because that's basically what people do. I don't want to sell them because, like I said, I'm gonna have to call them back. But I also don't want to take the machine and put it on a shelf and somebody go, hey, how's that machine holding up? And I'm like, oh yeah, it still works great. And it's been in a box for 6 months and hadn't been out of the box. But if I've got these guys that are using them and they're sending me pictures going, man, look at this thing I did. If somebody says, hey, how's that machine holding up? I can text them, hey, is the machine still running good? Running good, So that's another thing is I can't run because like right now I think I'm up to 60 something machines since I started doing this. I can't run 60 something. I mean, I do good to run the 8 or so that I keep here in the shop. So that's why, like I said, giving back to the maker community. I had a lady that I worked an event. She was there and was selling cutting boards, had like 2 left on her table. And I'm like, wow, man, you must have done really good today. And she told me, she said, no, she said, these are the only 2 I've got. She said, my machine tore up and I'm trying to sell these 2 to try to save up to replace my machine. And she had it was a 5-watt diode. And so I wound up, helping her. And I had a 10-watt 2 trees that I wasn't using. And I'm like, hey, look, come see me. So I give back to when I can, but I can't give back on an international level or interstate level. I start close to home and then I'm spreading out from there. So we'll see how it goes, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever.
That being said, if there's someone in the southern Minnesota area is interested in a Monport M40 laser, let me know. The Reno 45 has replaced it, and this other one is not. It's not seeing use. It's kind of in the way. So, if there's someone in the area or wants to come to the area,
yeah,
hit me up. Maybe we can work something out.
A rendezvous with the Lowe's.
Yeah.
I left here the other day. I had to clear up some space. Yeah. So,
follow-up question on the IR module. They have a longer Ray 5 10-watt. Would you suggest upgrading to an IR module on the longer or the S1? One better than the other? It's kind of, the 2-watt IR. It's going to be the end result is going to be about the same. The machine can definitely have some factors to it, but you're going to be pretty much having to run them at the same speed. So it kind of comes down to, I would say, whichever one's cheaper, which is probably going to be the longer. Maybe which one's easier to swap out if you need to. Probably about the same on those. Or size. The longer is going to have probably a little more square work area for anything bigger, whereas the S1 is going to be kind of wider. So if it were me, I like my S1 for the organic material and such. I would probably leave it that way most of the time. I would be looking at swapping out my longer module for that one. But that's my situation, my preference.
Yeah, and in that situation, if I had a longer, because I'm guessing the longer Ray says it's a 10-watt, I'm not going to, you're going to basically swap that module out and dedicate that one to be an IR machine unless you get in a real bad pinch. Because with the S1, especially if it's a 40-watt S1, you can't go any lower than a 20-watt S1. I would definitely keep the S1 rocking the blue diode and let the longer Ray 10-watt be the one that I would swap the module out on. Like Steve said, it's because either machine's going to move that 2-watt module fast enough to do what you need to do. You're not going to see a drastic speed difference between the 2 different machines.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, I guess the season's done for most of America then. Chief Eagles Super Bowl. No one cares. Well, I'm sure some people care, but I think most of
Steve does get all the cool toys. Have y'all not seen the hashtag Steve gets all the cool toys?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it said now hold up, I thought. And
well, here's the way I look at that. If you guys ask me, hey, which machine is better? And let's say it's machine B. Like if y'all ask me right now, hey, which machine's better? you know, a Monport or a what's that new one? This everybody's the latest crave. The big expensive ones, Red Line, something or another. Anyway, if you asked me that, I couldn't tell you because I don't know. You know, I haven't tried that machine out, and so if I'm telling you guys that I like this machine better than this machine, it kind of helps if I've tried those machines out. Steve, have you frozen? Because if not,
No, I'm reading. I'm reading.
you're not blinking at all. Like you weren't moving at all. I was like, man, did he freeze? Yeah, the Aeon. I've never used an Aeon. I hear they're nice machines, but I can't say that. So, you know, I don't want to be locked into any one brand because let's face it, I don't have the space, nor do I have the funds to be dragging an Aeon laser up in this shop right now. I just don't. For the jobs that I do, the stuff that I do, it just don't make business sense for me. But you know, there are nicer machines out there, like this CNC over here. You know, my CNC, yes, it's not a 10-footer. It ain't like all the latest and greatest, but that thing is paid for. It makes me money, and it is fun to play with. So, you know, I don't expect, like I said, you probably will never see me have all the latest and greatest and biggest toys because I like to pay. I don't like to buy equipment unless I can justify it. And usually I've already got jobs lined up that'll recoup my money. And it'd take a while to recoup the money on like a $15,000, $16,000 laser. You're going to have to, that's a lot of smoke for somebody that's fixing to retire and trying not to work all the time. So
this is what I was kind of getting caught up with. There's a lot of comments back and forth on this. So what is your take on the bamboo drama going on right now? Here again, it's a bit of a mess. And they're not communicating very well. They are being a little shady in maybe what their overall intentions are, which makes a lot of people nervous. That being said, it's still a really good product, and it's very refined. And if you're the average consumer user that just wants something to work, it's a good option. But you are kind of at their whim of what they're going to do, which it very justifiable, makes a lot of people nervous. So I don't know. I mean, I feel bad because they are a really nice printer. They work very well, but I don't like to recommend something that you're going to have the rug pulled out from under you. And if they were to go to all cloud-based and subscription model, you would see mine probably disappear pretty quickly. That being said, there are a lot of other manufacturers out there that are competing with them, but I don't know that they quite have the polish on everything just yet. I hope they put a lot more pressure on Bamboo with the quality of their machines and the ease of their machines moving forward, because it will force Bamboo's hand. So I don't know. I guess where are my thoughts on it? I still think it's a quality product, but I'm very disappointed in them at this point as far as the way they've been handling this. And I'm kind of holding my breath on what do I do next, as far as, you know, I did not buy I did not get I didn't upgrade. I still just have the A1 and A1 Mini. I was strongly considering it, and now I'm kind of I'm waiting to see. So I guess that's where I'm at on it. You know, I hope consumer pressure makes them change a little bit, maybe become a little more honest and transparent with their, you know, where they're going, their roadmap, and what they're going to do. Because I think they could find themselves in a pretty big deficit of consumers if they don't change kind of how their communications and their what is being perceived as their intentions. Like I said, I've seen a lot of poor communications from companies. I mean, just looking at the Xtool thing, you know, They backtracked that a bit. Maybe they didn't announce it as well as they did. Maybe they didn't think it was going to be as bad, and now they're changing their tone a little bit. I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I also feel some people have kind of gone a little over the top on the, bamboo's dead to me. Everybody's got that level of where they're at. I'm still kind of taking it in and seeing where things roll. Because
and that's where I am. I mean, I could see it like if I were Sam, who runs a print farm, and maybe he uses a software to control the machines other than Bamboo or whatever, I can see it being an issue for him. But I think most of your just general users like me and you that have one, maybe two machines, and we're not using any kind of special setup, I don't see it being that big of an issue as long as they don't, like you saying, as long as they don't start charging for a service. Then I think it would affect them. But as long as they leave it to where you can, either have the cloud service or don't have the cloud service, and it's an opt out or whatever, then I don't care what they do with it personally, as long as the machine works as well as it's been working. So that's my 2 cents on it. But like I said, I'm not running a print farm either. So I'm just printing like 1 offs and 2 offs. And some days I may run the printer all day, and then they may go 2 or 3 weeks and I never print anything. So I'm a casual user.
Yeah. Yeah, the question here is, how can you support someone who's been proven to lie? And I would say that if we truly knew every single company's intentions and whatnot, I don't think you'd be doing business with anybody if that was the standard, unfortunately. Companies are out for their bottom line and trying to protect their assets and where they want to go. And some of them, it's the whole drug deal. First one's free, and then you're hooked. And then now they're like, well, I'm going to treat you however I want because I know you want my stuff. It's unfortunate. And we can only hope that other places will step up and provide the competition that they need to change their ways. But as far as trusting any company and corporation, yeah.
Like I said, those folks are going to do what is the best interest of their company. And if they, like you said, if they have a product that they know will sell no matter what they do, then they'll do whatever they choose to. So we'll see. Like I said, interesting development with that, but we'll see. Does anybody in the group have a Thunderbolt and can share their thoughts on the most capable rotary? The Thunderbolt rotary that I've run when I'm up at Tim's, up at the trophy shop, he's got the Roto Boss, and it's pretty expensive, but it's a pretty good rotary. I'd actually considered getting one for the Polar Plus. I even emailed Roto Boss and asked them if they made one for the Polar Plus to see if, to confirm that it was the correct one before I ordered it, because you don't ever know. And I never heard anything back, so I don't currently have a Roto Boss because I didn't get a message back. But they make them basically, from what I gathered, they can just put a connector on there for whatever machine, and it'll work with it. But that's kind of where I left that. But that Roto Boss with the Thunder works really, really well. The only thing that I can honestly say that I wish Thunder had have done, which you can do yourself if you're going to set it up, is it doesn't lock in anywhere. It just kind of sets on the honeycomb. But if you make a jig and pin the jig to the honeycomb, you can actually set it to where it can't move and it stays put. But as far as holding the tumblers and being adjustable, the thing has all kinds of adjustments, and it does a good job.
It better though. I mean, because if you're looking at Roto Boss, you're probably doing hundreds of tumblers. And
it's expensive.
It's expensive. You're spending just as much as that as many people are spending on a laser.
Yeah, he when he ordered the Thunder for the trophy shop, it came with it. Like it was an upcharge, but it came with it. But I had looked at getting one for myself, And my thing was I wanted it to where I could run it on, on the Omtech, I could run it on the Atomstack, I could run it on whatever machine I wanted to run it on by having adapters. And that was my big hang up was, I need to make sure I got the right adapters. And so, yeah, they don't give those away, Steve, at all.
No.
No. You seen the price tag on that guy?
Yeah. No, well, they've got multiple ones, and I think their cheapest one starts around 900.
Let me see which one.
Well, they have a smaller one that's like about 500, but man, you're spending $1,000 on up for those. And I've seen one. They are nice. They are beautiful pieces of equipment, but yeah, it's an investment. But they are also one of those that if you want a stable, quick change, like I say, you're cranking through a lot of rotaries, that's going to be a good way to do it.
Well, I do get into patches of tumblers. Like I said, I mean, those big Stanleys I did. I mean, I'll get into a patch of them, and I like Klein did 250 here a while back. Now he used the Atomstack, which is my go-to chuck. But I do enough of them, I think, to justify the expense over time. But it's going to be one of those things that, I'm going to buy it knowing that it's going to take me a year or two of doing tumblers to get my money back from it. But the one that came with this Omtech is just very basic. I don't like it. It's not adjustable the way that I'd like for it to. And so that's what I was looking at. And I can't remember which one it is that comes with the Thunder, but it's the one that comes with the Thunderbolt. There's actually two of them, I think. There's like a basic one, and then there's the upgraded one. Well, because he does a lot of tumblers, Tim went ahead and got the nicer one. I'm trying to see which one they list coming with it, but yeah, it's pretty sweet. It took me a little while to figure out exactly how to set it up and make it stable, but once I got it figured out, that thing runs great.
Mm-hmm.
And that Thunder is just blazing fast because he's got the RF Thunder, and it's just crazy fast. Like it has got fiber level resolution. Like it's cool.
Nancy's asking, are either of us getting the X-Tool apparel printer? I haven't been asked about it.
I don't have anywhere to put
it. I have been approached by another company about a DTF printer and oven. It's one of those things where I'd love to play with it, and I think over time it could possibly help me out because, like I said, one of the things I do is try to work with businesses on trying to fill that niche between them needing to pay and order tons of apparel or whatnot and being able to do smaller runs, that business stuff really. But yeah, I don't know. You've probably noticed a number of other creators have put out videos on it, kind of announcing it. We weren't asked to, and I don't like being too sales pushy on stuff. Until I know I'm actually going to get the item and have it in hand and can really tell you honest information about it. So if they offer it up, we'll see. But it is kind of a big unit and not a primary thing I do. So I don't know. It does look interesting though, and if but there again, not having experience with any other printers like that, I don't know how subjective I could be about telling you is it good, bad, or different from others. So I don't know, but they're coming out with the X-Tools thing, and they didn't tell us a lot about what they were coming out with this year when we met with them, but they did say, well, there's still, lasers are still kind of one of their main.
Tell me what it wasn't going to be. Remember,
they want to get into, they want to support making and creating in a broader spectrum, and so you're probably going to see more things like this that come out from X-Tool that are. I mean, they did the screen printer before. They did kind of the M1 Ultra, which started combining more types of creating and such. You're probably going to see more of that from Xtool.
Yeah, if I had my new shop and I had the room, I'm not going to say I wouldn't take one and play with it, but it would simply be for me to make stuff and learn it, because I have no experience with them. So,
yep. Anyway, well, we're about 20 minutes over tonight.
Yes, 2.5 hours almost. So I've got to read. Apparently, even though I've done sprayed them, I guess my fibrous wood done popped out because of the spray. I've got to touch these up with some 220 and hit them again with some spray. So
cool. Well, like I said, I'm finally kind of getting back to feeling somewhat normal. Energy is kind of getting back, and so I'll hopefully have this video out on engraving these tins here maybe tomorrow. Of course, I got to go back to work this week, but I am taking Wednesday off for my birthday and going to spend some shop time. And unless I'm really not feeling well, I do think I'm going to probably spin up a bit of a live stream. So hopefully people got nothing better going on, come hang out, and we'll see what I've got going on, and maybe give you a preview of anything else that's going on in my shop. And who knows, maybe we'll have some cake and whatever. But yeah, otherwise, what you got going on this week?
Well, in the morning, I got to go get a shot in my spine to hopefully stave off the pain that I've got that's been coming back down my leg, which apparently, according to the MRI I had last week, is coming from an area similar to where I had operated on last year. But this one's not as bad. And instead of jumping straight into surgery, I talked him into letting me try the block with the, to see if I can calm it down, because it wasn't bothering me until I had the knee surgery. And that's when it started flaming up. So I'm thinking maybe it just got irritated and that scar tissue build up and everything. So we're going to try that tomorrow and see if I can get that calmed down. And if so, then hopefully things will get moving a little sooner, a little smoother. But yeah, I'm just going to be working on some of these projects. I am having to get some stuff together to take with me to Atlanta for the Vectric booth. That's why I did my little puzzles and the Vectric sign and stuff like that. Is they wanted things that were made using V-Carve. And I've got stuff, but I wanted kind of cool stuff. You know what I mean? I wanted something different. And also I need some content. So I'm like, you know what? 2 birds, 1 stone. Here we go. I am going to try to throw a video together tomorrow. As long as they don't like kill me with that shot in the morning, I'm going to come out here, hopefully, because I can't drive. I can't make any like purchases or anything like that after being sedated tomorrow morning. So I figure maybe I can at least edit a video and get that done. So
that might be an interesting video.
Well, like I said, hopefully they're just going to put me under, do the shot, and I'll be back, to my usual self by the time I make it back home. But yeah, I've got the longer B1 40 watt. Longer just begged and like pleaded and they just basically forced it upon me. So I've got the 40 watt longer. I had the 30. I ran the 30 in here for months. Like I used to do my cutting boards on it. Like I've got hours and hours of video of the 30 watt. They wanted me to take the 40. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do, because I have done everything I know to do with the machine other than just do a walk around video, because that's really all I can do, because I've got so much content on the longer B1 series.
Mm-hmm.
I feel kind of goofy doing another video on it. But
yeah, well, and that's what I've told a lot of companies too. I'm like, it's too much the same of what we've already done. So
yeah.
But,
so like let me see if I can, and this is just the ones that have it in the name, but I've got 3 videos out that have B1 in the name of the video.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no telling how many project videos, how many, lives just doing bamboo cutting boards and all that. So, but we're going to try to figure out a project or something I can do that with that machine sometime in the next week or so. And then I'm going to be trying to figure out what you're going to be doing for Workbenchcon because that's only like a month away, like as of today. So we're going to have to try to figure that out. So I'm going to be trying to motivate you into figuring that out.
Well, apparently Elaine shares a birthday with me, so happy birthday, Elaine.
You ain't 29, bro.
No, on the 29th. I mean, she might be celebrating her 29th birthday.
She says happy 29th to you.
It's
I know better. Well, all right. Well, Nancy, as far as the Lasermatic, Galvomatic, or whatever.
Same with Sippy. Happy birthday.
Yeah, what is it with everybody? Everybody got the same birthday, Steve. What's up with that? But hopefully when that thing comes out, I'll get one of those. So we'll see. Leo's kind of hinted that I might have one in my future. We'll figure it out. We'll see. What are you laughing at now? I ain't 29 either.
I'm glad I'm not, because that would just pull that clock back on retirement a whole lot more. So
I was going to say, don't wish your life away, but at the same time, hey, people, I am truly grateful that I'm going to be able to retire at 50 years old, which is amazing. But yeah, I can't. Like, I was talking to a guy the other day that works with me, and he's like, "Yeah, I only got 9 years left," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, if I had 9 years left, I would be hurt right now. My feelings would be hurt."
Well, I got my retirement statement in the mail, and they said, "Congratulations, in 20 years, here's how much you can bring." Now, technically, they also said, "Well, in 9 years, you could retire and be broke," but yeah, it was it's another 20 years if I want to completely maximize it. So,
well,
I don't know that I'm going to make it that long.
Like I said, you never know. You might, hey, one video, like that one website that you sell you feet pics to or something. You might, I mean, you might be able to put enough money back. You'll be the next big thing. Yeah. Hey, it's folks like us. We just work our entire lives. That's just what it is.
Well, I know I'll probably be working that long. I'm just hoping that maybe I can find something that isn't quite as mentally taxing. Maybe in another 10 years.
Well, if things go my way, I can get you a job with the Clack Shack, I guess. But it's gonna take a big hit. We're gonna have to hit pay dirt.
Well, when you wanna expand to Yankee country up here, just let me know.
I'm gonna have to hit pay dirt, bro. It's gonna take a lot more views than what I'm getting now.
Yeah. All right. Well. Anyway. Well, we hope your stuff goes well tomorrow, and it doesn't that the shot can give you some relief. And yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this week. We actually have I looked just before the stream. There's a chance it might be 52 on Thursday, so I'm gonna enjoy it. Maybe get outside, get some vitamin D, and walk. That'll usually help me feel better. I'm not feeling, but yeah, if you can avoid whatever this bug is that's going around out there, everyone, I would, because this kicked my butt for a couple weeks. But
yeah, it's had you down for a minute. I told Brandy the other day, I was like, I don't even know the name of a florist up there that sends you flowers.
That just make me sneeze more. But yeah, no. We'll I had some good time in the workshop tonight. Hopefully get out into the other workshop too and get some more stuff going. I gotta get those CNC machines going. That kind of got stalled, but I have a video I need to edit that was leading up to my trip to see Cody, and then also the video about making those end mills, and then I gotta make a video using the end mill. So definitely going to be some stuff there with both the Onefinity as well as the Sane Smart 4040 to hopefully I've been getting more questions about some of this stuff with intro, kind of starter CNC questions. So hopefully I can get a video out there to help answer some of them. So
Well, hey, maybe you could just make a little display case for that bit. And we know you won't ever use it.
I have 2 of them. I got to make 2. So yeah,
All right.
AGT. There you go. 2.5 weeks and still not clear of it. I've talked with other people who've had it up here too, and they're kind of the same boat that, kind of knocked them out for a couple weeks and such. So anyway, well,
What are you doing?
that's officially we're 2.5 hours. So
Yeah.
we've done our overtime.
I got a dog sticking his head in the cat door over here.
There you go. So anyway, thanks everyone. It was fun Sunday evening. We'll do it again next week. Otherwise, keep an eye out for some videos.
Yeah, go binge watch some videos if you want. Hopefully we'll have some out.
Yep.
We'll see y'all. See you next Sunday.
Later.